Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in our previous video we were able to implement a dynamic USSD menu based on the user's registration status, but whatever we did not do in that video is that we did not actually save the user's registration information into the database. So in today's video I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step process of how you can create your models and how you can also create a views to be able to register the user into the system. So just to give you a quick demo of what we are going to build today. So over here in my Africa stocking simulator, let's run the service code. And now this is a non-registered user, so the user needs to select one to be able to register so that I can be able to access the system. So to do that, let's click on register, and then you can enter the first name, the last name, the email address, then upon registration the user will get a welcoming message like that. Now that is for a non-registered user. We'll have been able to register the user. If you refresh the admin, you can see that we have a new user over here with the email, the phone number, a credit score, and also a loan limit. And another thing that you can note that we have a membership number that is being created automatically. Now let's go ahead and run the service code once again for a registered user. So when we run the service code, and now you can see that we have a different menu based on the status of the user registration. So that is what we are going to learn in today's lesson. So that's it for our demo. Let's jump into the code. So over here in my VS Code, I have my project over here set up. It's called FlexiCash. Then in my settings, I'll be able to register all the applications that I just created. We have the accounts, M-Pesa Express, loan application, and the one that you want to use today are these two applications. The first one is the USSD, which will handle all the USSD logic, and we also have the Flexi members, which will be able to handle the Flexi members, where we will be able to define our models for the user registration. So that is it for the settings. And inside my Flexi members app, then inside models, I've defined a model over here. As you can see, we have a model with the first name, last name, email, phone number, and email I've set it to true because I don't want duplicates. Phone number is also true. A PIN, that is the user's personal identification number whenever the user wants to make a transaction. Member balance, that is set to default to 0 unless the user applies for a loan. Membership number, which will be created, loan limit, and also a credit score. So this is just a small func over here to just set the limit based on the credit score. So that's it for the Flexi member application. It basically just has the models, just a methods over here for the limit, and also we've overridden the save method. So let's have a look at the main view or the entry-level view for the USSD application. Basically at the top we just have some imports. We have the handle registration module that has been imported over here. So the USSD view, basically we're just extracting the session ID, the phone number, the text, and we're splitting the text from the request. Then we're just initializing a response over here. This is the default response. This is where we implemented a list. So today we are using our FlexiCash member model to be able to query if the user is into the system or not. And then notice how we are using the phone number that we just extracted from the session. For the non-registered users, we are going to be able to display that, and also call the handle registration module to be able to process that request that is for the non-registered users. So we just call the handle registration module, pass in the request object the session ID as well as the phone number. And then for the registered users, they're going to have a dynamic menu that is with a welcome message. And if you remember, in our constant, the welcome message has all these options over here to be able to apply loan, repay loan, check limit, and also request for statements. Then what we're having over here is that we're having a check to just check on the option that the user has selected. So we are checking at the index 0, then we're just comparing the option. If it's 1, we're just going to handle the first, that's the apply loan. We're just getting the pass from the text that we just passed from the main view. Then for the phone number, we are creating a variable here, then we call the func that we just created at the top, that is normalize phone, where we basically pass in the phone number. Of course, we are checking if the phone is normalized, just to ensure that we are working with the normalized phone number. Then to check if the member already exists, so we just use the function that we created. We just create a new variable over here of member, then check if the member exists, then we pass in the normalized phone number. So then now let's begin our check. So if the part is equal to 1 and not member, so which means the user has selected option 1. So option 1, remember, in our system is that the user will be prompted to do what? To enter the first name, that is the first part, right? So the first one, the part was empty, which means the user has just dialed the service code. And now if the part is equal to 1, which means the user has selected something, right? The user has selected an option, and that is option 1. Then we're basically grabbing the user's input. So connection, which means that the connection should continue, and which means the connection will terminate. So the response is that please enter your first name. That is the first one. Then the next one, let's do another check. If the length, we're just basically checking the length of the parts. If it's 2, then and it's not a member, which means that the user is not registered, then we are asking for the last name. And at the same time, we're also saving our first name. We are saving the parts 1. So the next thing that we're just checking if the length of the part is equal to 2 and not member, which means it's not a registered member, then we're just asking the user for the last name. And we are doing the same thing for the email, and we are also asking for a 4-digit PIN. Then finally over here we are just basically confirming the user's PIN. So confirmed PIN is equal to parts 5. The first name is the first part, the last name is the second part, email is parts 3, and then the PIN is part 4. Then another important step is to just confirm if the pins match, because that's really important for our system. We just want to check if the pins that was entered is the same as the confirmed PIN, because remember, in the system the users were being given an option to enter the PIN and also confirm the PIN. So we need a check to just ensure if the pins are matching. And then another important check is to check if the email exists into the system. So we need 2 checks for the email and also for the phone number. So we don't want duplicates into our system. That's why we are basically having the checks for the email and also for the phone number. And then lastly, we're just using a try except block to save the member into the database. So we are having the member object, then over here, then lastly we just save the member and display a success message when the registration was successful, and an integrity error if there is a issue with the registration. So that is it for the registration. So I'm just going to refresh. And do some checks over here. So let's enter a different number. So if you run the service code for an unregistered user, once again we get the register option. Then if we select option 1, that is for registration, then we will be prompted for the first name. Then second is the last name. Then we also have the email. and then a 4-digit pin. So now I'm just going to enter a wrong pin, the first pin. Then for the pin confirmation, if I enter different pin, you'll be able to see that the pins do not match. So that is really important to have certain checks for a real world system. Now let's go back again and trace the email. So John, and then the last name is Doe. Then the email, I'm just going to add the email that I entered initially. So if I try to register that and enter 4-digit pin, and now you can see that the email is already registered. So this one just prevents the users from using an already existing email, because emails are really important. This is where we will be able to send the users their mini statements on a monthly basis. So we need to have unique emails into the system, as well as the pins. They need to match during registration. So that is one of the important things that you need to have. Now once we've managed to do the checks, now let's actually register a user using the right credentials. Of the register option, the first name is going to be John, then let's add Doe for the last name. Then the email, I'm going to say johndoe@gmail.com. I'm going to add a pin over here, then confirm the right pin, and there we go. The user has been registered and we get a successful registration message. And then we go back to our admin. If I do refresh the admin, we have the newly registered user, we have the FlexiCast, then we also have the Flexi member with the membership number. Then we also have the membership number, the name, the last name, the email, the phone number, as well as the credit application. So in our upcoming videos, we'll be able to work on the apply loan. Once we've seen how users can be registered with the system, we are now going to start working on the loan application. Then the next will be the loan repayments, check loan limit, and also mini statements via email. So that's it for today's guys. See you in the next one.